And when you start making money, you start feeling like, okay, I don't have any problems. But, even with money comes a lot of issues, whatever. And the problems that you have mentally never go away. So I said all that to say this. I got into a point where around when I was 46, about 4 years ago, I started just crying uncontrollably for no reason. I'd be in a hotel room. I'd be in a 5-star hotel on the road with the Clippers or whatever, or on the road for work, or just hanging out with some people, or whatever, living a great life. And I'd go back to my hotel room, or I'd be in my bedroom, and I would just cry uncontrollably. And I'm like, what's wrong? Why am I crying? Something would just like pop up on television. I see a picture of my grandmother. I'd see something that reminded me of my childhood, and I had to let it out. And that was all trauma. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that all this stuff that was inside of me was eating me up alive. And it was leading to a lot of health issues that was starting to grow. And I'm not going to go too far into that, but it was starting to deal with that, dealing with the health issues. So once there's this voice that told me that you need to write this book, because I've been putting it off for so long. And once I started writing the book, all that trauma and all that pain and all that hurt started being released. And all those tears that I was crying started, dissipating, decreasing, I should say, a little bit more. And so I really feel like if I had not released that pressure that was inside of me, then it was going to eventually take me out.
Wow. As you were writing this book, like, were you shocked at like what was there and what was suppressed? Like, or did you kind of knew there was a lot of stuff, or just the more you dove deep, the more you were like, holy shit.
Yeah, man. It's like I knew it was there. I didn't know it was affecting me. I didn't know it was hurting me, man. I mean, like to this day, I feel like there are things that, it's like you can dig out certain things, aspects, like a cancer. So you can go in there and they have that treatment, but it's like if you don't treat it with mental health therapy, that cancer can grow back. So even though I went in there and that book was my surgery to cut out certain things, I had to have therapy afterwards in order to make sure that there was like my radiation, so to speak, to make sure that it wouldn't grow back and I could actually kill it. So yeah, I mean, I would write something, did an outline of my life, and I'm like, wow. And then the light started going off. And that's why I put the book out, because I was going to put the book out at first. When the light started going off and I realized this is the reason why this happened. This is the reason why this is affecting my life. This is the reason why I couldn't maintain a good, healthy relationship. This is the reason why I don't love myself, is because of all these types of things. And I knew they existed. These times in my life existed, but I had put them so deep down inside of my memory that I forgot about them. And then once I started uncovering it, I realized that those memories and those traumas were still very much alive, and they were affecting me, and they were eating at my soul. But once I started uncovering and digging them out and dealing with it, I was able to be a much better person. Now I feel lighter. I feel happier. I feel brighter. I feel like I can conquer the world because I've dealt with the issues that's been on the inside of me.
Yeah. Was there one point, like, do you remember, because like it's a process, but like, do you remember when you kind of turned the corner? Like, is it easy to look back and just say like, oh my God, like so many years? Like, I don't know, like, is there one thing that was just like, that was the day or the week or I mean, of course it's a continual process, but where you're just like, wow, I get it.
I think I was, before Cynthia, I was dealing, I was hanging out. I had a good time. I was dating. It was this, and I never said this to anybody before, but, since you asked the question, I was dealing with this one lady who I liked, that I couldn't admit that I really liked a lot, and Cynthia knows about her, but I couldn't admit it because she wasn't giving me everything that I'm used to getting, if you know what I'm saying. She wasn't like buying into my bullshit. You know what I mean? I was this guy that was, like I said, put out this facade or whatever. And even though at that time I was dealing with it and I was crying all the time, whatever, I couldn't admit it. And so when she did something to me, I remember being in the car with her, and I got mad for some reason. I left her and another friend of mine, and I left. And she said, no, come back. I want to talk to you. And I was sitting in the car with her when I sit there, and I'm like talking to her. And I said something like, I said, I think I'm starting to really like you. And I think I'm starting to love you. And she said, you don't love me, blah, blah, blah. She said, stop playing. She's like, just be real. Be who you are. She said, you want to cry? Just go ahead and cry. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I can cry because I really feel like crying and I can be myself in front of this girl. This woman is going to let me be myself. So a tear started coming out of my eye, and it was genuine because there have been times in the past I've been such an ass, such this player, such this guy back in the day that I would do anything I needed to do to get a woman. And that meant shed a tear. Because remember, I used to act and I know how to act. So if a tear needed to come out, if that was going to be what it took for me to get that's the stuff. I don't know how far I can go.
You can go as far as you want, just because I'm a gay man. Trust me, I get how it works.
Okay. Well, let's just go just the fuck. Let me say if that was what I was going to do, whatever it took. All right. But this time with her in this car, I felt like, man, I can be myself. And this ain't even about having sex with this woman. This is about me just showing and expressing my love for her or whatever, how I felt for her. So I did it, cried. She looked and she gave me a hug. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm finally able to be myself. I went home and that girl went back in that house with my friend and told her and started laughing at me and said that, oh, he cried, girl. I got him to cry and all that. They called one of my best friends. One of my best friends, a man, called me. It's like, bro, what's wrong with you? You okay? You crying? What? Are you okay? Like something was wrong with me. And I remember the emotions that came over my body at that particular time. And it took me back to the first time I ever told a woman I loved her. And I felt that same sincerity, that same, I can be vulnerable with this girl when I was 15 years old. And I remember her reaction. And I remember how that made me feel. And I remember how that made me go into the shell for over 30 some years. And I felt that same pain. But this time, instead of using that pain as that facade or that barrier or that defense mechanism for not wanting to fall in love with anybody, for protecting myself against emotions and never really, falling for anybody and allowing that to hurt me, I said, you know what? I can't do that again. I got to deal with this. And then that's when I really started writing the book in earnest, because I felt the same thing. I said, this is a pattern. This is something that made me, the light went off to make me realize this is the reason why I hurt women. This is the reason why I tell lies to women. This is the reason why I cheated before. All these things came out. So you asked a question that nobody's ever asked before. And that is the reason why I think my life started turning around when it came to relationships with women, because I realized something that affected me 30 years ago was still affecting me. And if I allowed that moment a couple of years ago to do that, I would not be with Cynthia. I probably wouldn't be here with you today because, like I said, I would have died. And I definitely wouldn't have been in a good, stable, solid relationship with anybody, because I would have still been that little hurt boy from 15 years old.
Right. And you realize like everything in between was like the same patterns of just trying to cover it up and just, push the pain down. And, the way to not deal with pain is to act like the biggest player out there. Right. I mean, that's
right.
That's the way to do it.
That was my defense mechanism, and then through therapy, I learned that I started messing around because I always felt like I was inadequate. I felt like I wasn't enough. So what could I do to help some people go to drugs, some people go to alcohol or whatever. My drug was women, and women made me feel better about myself, because I felt like, oh, as long as you're showing me and telling me how much you care about me, you love me and want to have sex with me and all that type of stuff, that was the drug that kind of suppressed my pain. So, but once again, being mature enough and growing, I guess there was some growth, made me realize I need to deal with this instead of just allowing it to consume me.
And a lot of times I think it's almost like self-sabotage. Like if you don't love yourself, it's like you want to ruin this relationship subconsciously because you don't think you deserve love, and cheating on someone is one way certainly to do that with most people.
Right. And that's exactly right. Because I didn't love myself. And so when people used to always say, Mike, I remember when I first came out and I was on the show and I got dragged for it a little bit on the internet. When I told my daughter, I was like, I was never in love with her mom. I was never in love with my ex-wives because I couldn't fall in love with myself. So I'm being honest about it. Doesn't mean I don't love them. I care. Empathize was there. Well, there's a difference between loving and being in love. I could never fall in love with somebody because I did not trust anybody, because I didn't trust myself, because I didn't trust myself to give enough of somebody to somebody emotionally because I was afraid of being hurt. Instead of being whole, which I had to grow into being whole, I was a person that was missing things, and I was supplementing, my life with something that they could actually give me.